dog moving? I'm not sure. I don't know. He's definitely doing the stretch. Bit of yoga movements. There's that downward dog pose in yoga, so maybe we'll see one of those as well. But definitely a bit of stretching. And oh, there we go, downward dog. And he's just watching a vehicle. That's why he's kind of up and looking around. But there the others are getting up. Come on, get going. Prove me right. I've got like 20 seconds until I've blown this. Nope, that dog is down. The other one doesn't look as though it's going to be up and moving either. No, I think back to sleep we go. No! Close though. I feel like I was almost there. We've been trying to make all these predictions lately, and the rub of the green has been going our way, so why not just throw it out into the universe? It's okay that they didn't get going. I'm just making a little bit of fun and just trying to see what's going on. Now, while we're watching these dogs sleep and settle down, so Jackie's class in Illinois says Carson and a few other kids within the class did a research project on the African wild dogs last year, and they want to know if they're still endangered. Yes, they are. They're still highly endangered. In fact, their numbers are not increasing in any way whatsoever. So unfortunately, their numbers are still going downwards, and the only real places that we're finding wild dogs stable and actually doing okay is in the Kruger National Park system, and then in Botswana and Zambia, where their numbers are fairly stable. They're not really going up or down, but there has been no increase in the population of wild dogs, unfortunately, and there's been decreases in populations in Zimbabwe and other parts. So unfortunately, not great news, but yes, they still are highly endangered, and probably the most endangered species that we see in this particular section of South Africa in terms of the wild dogs. But slowly but surely, heads are being raised and lifted. The sun is going down a bit and it's starting to get darker. And so I think that we're going to have a situation that they are going to get up and start moving around. Now, I was saying just now, while we're watching the dogs sleep, maybe is a good time to reflect on our movie suggestions for the afternoon. I don't know if Megan has managed to pick out any interesting movie selections that we can maybe have a little vote on. I'm not sure. There we go. So I believe there's been lots of movie suggestions. So it's always a good thing to do while the dogs are sleeping, is to see what movies we can pick out for this evening, give them a chance to wake up. Hopefully there will be maybe a dog theme movie is appropriate for tonight. Who knows? What do you think, Senzo? You think so? A dog theme movie for tonight is appropriate. Okay. So, yes, Louise, I do agree with you that most of the time any movies featuring dogs generally are sad at some point, and they make the girls cry, which we don't want to do. We don't want sad ladies tonight. We want the ladies to be jovial and happy, so maybe a comedy of some sort. Is there no comedies featuring dogs? There must be comedies featuring dogs. You want action, Senzo? Senzo is all about the action. Oh, I don't know. I think something that makes us all laugh is good. So Kimmy and Donna, you've suggested Deadpool. Senzo, you seen Deadpool? No, you haven't seen Deadpool. Oh, that will be a good one for Senzo. Senzo will like that one. I have seen Deadpool a few times, so not sure about that one, but we'll make that number one. So what's next on the list, Lou? Because number one, I'm not so sure. I have seen it a few times. Ellie's seen it. You guys have all seen it. It's just Senzo. Kathy and Tina, you say Central Intelligence, and Louise says it looks really funny. There we go. I think that's a good one. What do you think? Senzo's nodding in agreement behind the camera here. I quite like the sound of it. I haven't seen it myself. Louise hasn't seen it, and Louise has watched about every movie that's ever been made, along with Jerry. The two of them are little movie freaks, and they both watch them all the time, as well as Megan. Actually, our FC girls do love a good movie, and sometimes they do have movie nights, just the girls. So maybe Central Intelligence is a really good one. Let's put that one on as number one for now. Deadpool, I think most of us have already seen, so sorry, Senzo, you're going to have to probably watch that on your own time, not on movie night, because we have to have something that nobody else has seen. But we'll have to obviously, of course, get Ali and VM's input, as Lou has reminded me. this is just from our side. We obviously are trying to give our input from Rusty. I wonder what Rusty also votes Central Intelligence, by the way, because nobody asked Rusty, and so does Pooji. Pooji's also over here, and Pooji also votes Central Intelligence. So we are outnumbering everybody already just on the Rusty vehicle. So we're going to say that for the first movie. Of course, we'll probably watch more than one, because at the end of the day, well, we're not driving tomorrow, so we don't have to go to bed as early as we normally would, and normally we're in bed by 8 o'clock, so maybe we won't have time for more than one. So Karen, Mita, and many others reckon Wonder Woman, because there's action, there's, well, superheroes, there's ladies, there's all those kind of things. And, well, because Mita always asks the best questions, and I really enjoy the questions she asks, I will say that we will try and watch that this evening. I'll bend to that as well. It is, at the end of the day, a superhero movie, and so Senzo's reckons as well. So there we go. We've got 2 movies lined up for this evening. I think 2 is a perfect number. We can watch both of them, and there's a bit of comedy and then a bit of superhero woman power to also go and get mixed in. So that's the... And one more. Oh my goodness, I'm going to be awake until about 3 o'clock in the morning at this rate. But we'll see what the last one is. So Lou says, what does it matter? I can sleep. Except that she wants to make me do review tomorrow. So Linda and many others, Guardian of the Galaxy 2. I've already watched it, unfortunately. I don't know who else has watched it. You watched it yet, Senzo? No. I'm not sure. I think we can, maybe. I don't know. The other 2 I haven't watched, and Senzo seems as though he hasn't watched any at all. I know Senzo's had a broken computer, which has just been fixed by the fact that he got a new charger, so he's going to be catching up, I'm sure. Lou, have you watched Guardians of the Galaxy? I know it was put on our staff servers, and so maybe. Look, the dogs are waking up, actually, so let's get more into nature things. So Megan has also gone Central Intelligence. I think between Pooji, Rusty, Senzo, and myself and Megan, I think that has already outweighed everybody else. And there we go. So Central Intelligence will be one movie, and let's see what else we get. But here we go. Dogs are up and mobile, and so Lou is saying, what about Wendy and Viam and Ali? But, well, the dogs look like they're happy to agree with us on Central Intelligence, and I count 13 wild dogs, which means that we win on this side of the vote. Sorry, Lou, you've been outvoted. Sorry, Ali, sorry, VM, all of you are outvoted completely by what's going on. But I wasn't too far off. I was 5 minutes out, the dogs waking up. Now here they go, and we're going to listen to them going crazy, because they're going to start squeaking and making lots and lots of noise. And how cool is this? I love when dogs wake up. It is the best thing. And look at all the commotion that goes on. Look at the tails. So we're talking earlier about the tails wagging all over the show. Now you can see tails are going everywhere. There's a bit of defecating happening, which is pretty sort of standard for wild dogs. They tend to do this all the time as they go to the toilet when they wake up. They like to get rid of and lighten the loads before going off hunting. So lots of running around, stretching the muscles, get warm like a track athlete before you start to go after various prey items and hunt. And how cool is this? Oh, that one's getting... This is almost like a... What's that game when you have to go under the little pole and you have to go frontwards and bend your chest back? What is that game called? Do you know, Senzo? Limbo. There we go. The dogs just did some limbo. It's like go underneath your partner and see if you can squeeze through without touching. But that dog failed because it almost lifted the other one. There, the others in the back are having a bit of a biting game, as the dogs do. I love when they do that, when they kind of grab each other and they rear up on their back legs. I actually got a nice photo of that the other day, which I shall post at some point. There we go. I love when they do that. You see when the legs are around the neck and they're on their back legs? It's one of my favorite things when wild dogs do that. It's always so entertaining to watch. There we go, a little bit of playing. And then everybody settles right down again. And this is the start of waking up. So this is the beginning stages. We saw it the other day when we followed the dogs and they got up and moving. It started with a few individuals doing this, and then they lay back down and then up again, and then they lay back down and then up eventually. And once everyone starts trotting and you see dogs starting to trot, then you'll find the rest will start waking up, and we'll have a situation where they are going to get moving. But everyone first needs to go to the toilet, everyone needs to urinate, everyone needs to mark their territory by dragging their backside all over the place, which is what dogs do. Also, you can see in the background one dog is rolling around, a bit of dust in the far back right there. So that's how they just scent mark and make sure that they're rolling around and giving their scent. Bit of a big yawn, and you can see why they can do some serious damage with those teeth. So it's just the process of waking up. It's much like cats when they groom themselves. The dogs will roll around like this. Right, but the dogs are slowly but surely starting to get up and starting to move around, and so while we wait for them to really get going properly, let's go back to Ali and Wiem and see what their vote is regarding the movie choices. Not that they have much of a vote, given that Rusty and the dogs have already decided, but, well, in the interest of fairness, let's go and see what they have to say.
Tristan is worrying me today. I think he's actually losing his brain a little bit. Right, so apparently VM spoke to Wendy, and Wendy just wants to see something sinking. So Titanic, Poseidon Adventure. That's what Wendy wants to watch. I think I don't really want to watch a lot of people struggling and dying. So I am happy with either Wonder Woman or Deadpool. But VM then suggested that we try and find a movie that's a road trip, because we want to see a road trip movie with a very nice soundtrack. So I think that would be nice if we managed to find something with all those lines. Perhaps, you know, because we saw a leopard that was clearly on a road trip going somewhere, so why not? Now, I think those are our options. I don't know what Rusty has voted or what the girls in FC are voting for, but I'm sure there's going to be quite a long debate before we actually manage to settle and see anything. Okay, Rusty voted Central Intelligence and Wonder Woman. At least I think Wonder Woman's gonna win. I have a feeling that might be the case. Alright. I agree with Tristan. Guardians of the Galaxy as the top 4th choice doesn't... I'm also not keen for that. What I want to do, actually, to be very honest, is find those other 2 leopards. Now we've gone back and we've circled around where we were. Hopefully we'll be able to find another one of them. Because if this is Djuma, and it seems like the general consensus, and I'm sure you guys have checked the spot pattern, that it is him, he's going into areas that he probably shouldn't be heading into, which makes it all that much interesting. So we don't see him around here. He's normally around Buffelshoek area. Now he's gone all the way down towards Simbambili. So, very, very interesting news, and I wonder now who it is that he was actually fighting with, because as we all know, this is Tingana's land. So, interesting, very interesting what the leopards get after when you give them a chance. Alright, seems like, however, not too much luck here, so we're gonna carry on driving. Maybe we'll find some more trucks, but I want to try the main road again, see if maybe we find some more of those leopards coming back into this area. I don't know, could be a possibility, seeing we got so extremely lucky this afternoon, just to make sure that the cat streak carries on. And we'll see what else has been around here. Now, where we first spotted him, it wasn't too far from here. He was just to the west of us. So I wonder if the other ones actually didn't come running this way, or where if they actually, well, I'm assuming they were fighting just by the amount of saliva that this male leopard was producing, and by the fact that he was sowing. So I was hoping almost that we were going to come around here and that we were going to hear another leopard sowing, and that would have given it away. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to the bottom of this road and then just stand by there for a little bit, see if perhaps we can hear anything else that would give away the position of another leopard. Because that would be wonderful. Then we would be able to put all that mystery together and find out who's been fighting with whom and why. Which is always very interesting. I love it when the cats just do something unexpected. Nikki, you're wondering if it's bad news that Djuma is so far into Tingana's territory. Well, it can be bad news for Tingana, but it is what normally happens. Animals need to be challenged in their territories. So it could be just an incursion, that he's come all the way here and then he's looking for a different area, but it also could be that that he could also carry on trying and going further south, because as far as I know, there I think maybe we should go onto this particular road over here rather than that one over there, because I have a feeling the leopards are going to be here. He could also just carry on walking, because Anderson has actually been pushing, from the reports that we've been getting from some of the guys, he's been spending a lot of time in Londolozi, so it almost leaves like this general northern pocket empty. So he could just pretty much just go and then stick around there, or he could establish himself, because Tingana's territory is also quite big. So maybe he's been pushing further into Chitwa and that area, and maybe he's gonna not be too interested in this particular area. So there's a constant shift in between areas. But I think what's happened today is that, ooh, elephants! That they bumped into each other and some ground rules are being set. Now, I need to get across all these dead branches to have a closer look at the elephants. Let's try. We're going to try and get a little bit of a closer view of these elephants, but while we do that, let's go over to Tristan. It seems like the wild dogs are sneezing and perhaps getting ready to start moving around.
Well, it's interesting because there's definitely been a few of them that have started sneezing, and 2 of them are drifting away from us, and the rest are kind of looking around a little bit. So there has been a few sneezes, and I'm just interested to see if it actually is any sort of validity to this basic principle, and whether or not what's going on is actually true in any way whatsoever. So just having a little sort of watch and to see what's going on, and whether or not this whole sneezing story has got some truth to it. But there's definitely been a start of the sneezing process, and whether or not that's going to lead to the pack moving is anyone's guess. But there's a lot more movement and a lot more playing around than what we saw just now, so I'm pretty sure we are going to get going. Now, interestingly enough, it looks as though they're going to face into the wind and run towards the wind, which is good news for us, because that's going to take them north into Djuma further, and hopefully up towards Gari Dam. That would be a nice place for them to go again, and to go and hunt and move around in. We also know that they did spot some impalas to our north, so I'm hoping they will move in that direction. But you can see some are just drifting off a little bit further away towards the termite mound and going up towards the Mulawati. Now, I don't see any of the impalas anymore. They seem to have all drifted off. There was impalas just on our left hand side earlier that they obviously watched, and impalas were moving around in that general vicinity. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they head that way from where they spotted impalas, or if it's going to be more about a democratic process via the sneezing story that we've been entertaining the last little bit. But it certainly seems like there's some element of truth to it, because since they've started sneezing there's been a lot more movement than what we saw earlier. And there's a bit of squeaking going on as well, as though to encourage a bit of movement, but some of the pack is still busy grooming and getting themselves ready for an afternoon of movement. Let's see, a bit of grooming going on, which will inevitably lead to a bit of biting and a bit of playing at some point. Generally doesn't groom each other for too long. They're not like the cats that will sit and go through a very solid grooming process together. Normally it ends in somebody biting the other one, and then there's a bit of game played. But those teeth are incredible. So if you doubted the jaws of a wild dog and wondered why they're so effective at doing what they do, you can see very clearly those teeth are designed for tearing flesh non-stop. Eduardo, the wild dog's fur, I suppose, does feel a bit like domestic dog, except a domestic dog that is rolled around in as much dust and dirt and mud and all kinds of other things as you can possibly imagine. It's got a very hard, wiry feel to it. Like I say, like a dog that's been rolling around in the dust far too much. That's the kind of feel that it has to it. But I will tell you one thing, is that if you touch a wild dog and you then smell yourself afterwards, the scent of a wild dog does not dissipate very easily at all. It really does smell a lot, and it stays on you for a long period of time. Even your clothes. I remember when we did the darting of that dog in this particular group, my clothes smelt like wild dog for about 3-4 days, even after being washed multiple times. It's still, that scent stays on you and even on your hands. It's quite incredible how much it rubs off, and lots of parasites on them. You tend to find lots of ticks on them and various other little mites crawling all over the place. So not the cleanest of animals, but their fur does feel like basically like a dirty dog that's been rolling around in lots of dust. That's pretty much what it feels like. Around the sort of neck area, that's quite fluffy. You'll find that, and the tail has a sort of fluffy feel to it, but the rest of it is more wiry and hard and dusty than anything else. But The wind kicking up again seems to be just waking everybody up. Now let's see if there's going to be sneezing from the dogs that are coming in. Nope, seems as though everybody's going quiet again and just lying back down. So while we wait for these guys to do their democratic process and sneeze it out and see what we're actually going to get up to, let's go back to Ellie with a good view of the Ellies.
Yeah, it's quite a peaceful view of these elephants. Seems like we are surrounded by a small breeding herd. I count in total about 5 individuals, and they're all just having a bit of a meal. They're all trying to break some of the branches of the trees, like this one has done right now, and in typical fashion, as we saw this morning, just putting everything in the back of their mouth and just trying to get all the nutrients from the cambium layer, which is the layer of tree underneath the bark, which is the living layer of the tree. It's quite a peaceful view of them here, and they're actually been very quiet in the way that they've been feeding. You can't really hear them breaking too much. Oh, and I think I recognize this trunk. Well, yes, indeed, this herd. I had a feeling it was them, but now the female to the left, the one that's walking in, that's our good old friend, the half-trunk female. There we go, because you can see now that when she moves the trunk that she's missing the tip of her trunk. So it's good to see that she's still around and that she's hanging around this area, and that her and her herd are doing still just fine. Now this particular female, as you can see, she's missing the tip of her trunk, and although it can be a bit of an inconvenience for elephants, you can see that she's done wonderfully well in not only carrying on and successfully carry on living, but also in breeding, because we are in the company of her youngsters. So normally the young elephants will stick around with their mother, if they're females, pretty much for a lifetime, but if they're males, until they're about maybe 12, 14 years of age, and they start becoming independent and doing their own thing and stepping away from, or going away from their mothers. It's very good to see her as well, I agree. Now, this particular one over here is, yep, there we go. It's demonstrating how elephants often manage to break some of the trees or the branches of the trees in the ground, and normally that'll be by twisting their trunk around it and then pulling and creating that tension, and then using their very powerful feet to kick and then just be able to break it loose either from the ground or break it entirely from the branch. Now, what are you doing? You seem like you were gonna go there to cause a bit of nonsense. There's some brotherly or some sibling fighting going on there. I think maybe this young boy has been look at you, so big and scary. It's typical elephant behavior when they raise their heads and move their ears like that to flap and just to show their discontent with something. So I think this one was just showing its older sibling that he will not be bullied away. Although the reaction of the other one is probably that he has been bullied the whole day and he's been a bit of a troublemaker. So maybe that's why. There comes the half-drunk female. Why are you guys having a bit of an attitude today? Is the wind making you a little bit upset? There we go. So breaking the wrapping of the trunk and then the breaking of the tree. Well, someone's not happy. My tree. That was a very selfish thing that we just witnessed. That was pretty much, that's my tree, I want it, and I'm going to eat it, you go away. Alrighty then. That's so pretty much, you see that there wasn't much more aggression other than what we just witnessed in the trumpeting that went to another level, but either the female is trying to give the little one a chance to feed on this little one, or she actually just wants to feed off of it, and then this other one that's been peacefully sleeping eating, and has just been chased away. Luckily there's a lot more food around, so it's not that much of a tragedy, but I think that was a little bit rude. I definitely did not expect that one. Interesting. Are you upset now? think maybe it's the law of the elephants. The bigger ones will always bully the little ones, like we saw this one pushing the tiny one away, and then mother coming in and just sorting it out in between all of them. There's a little elephant bum over there. Snazzy, you're wondering if that was playing or bullying. Well, I don't think it was either. I think it was just mom telling off. So, definitely not playing, just by their reaction and how high-pitched that was. Normally when elephants are playing around, they don't make such high-pitched trumpet calls. But also this other one just went into the side, and you could see that for a second there, all of their heads were raised and their ears were up, and there was a little bit of tension there. So, definitely not playing around. I reckon the behavior would have been a little bit different. Perhaps she would have come around and pushed it a little bit, but not making as much noise as it did. Because the minute it came around and made that noise, and you see the one to the right, it's still standing there. It's just been standing there, but is, there we go, retreating. And I think now it's starting to show its discontent, isn't like, unacceptable. I wonder if it's gonna try and go back. It seems like now it's got its naughty phase going in, and it's trying to get and eat those branches that were there. Taking it very easy and very quietly. And after all its effort trying to get to it, then the mother and the youngster have just come in and pretty much taken over. And you see it's not really feeding, it's just playing with some grass. I think it's still hoping, and now probably smelling us, because looking at the fact that the trunk is pointing in our direction, while everybody carries on eating. Multiple suns. They're wondering if I would be able to go and touch that elephant. I could try, but likely I would die in the process. Now they are very used to having people driving around, and they're very used to us and the noises that we make from a car, from a vehicle, one of the safari vehicles. However, on foot is a very different thing. Now on foot, especially elephants, or just in general mothers with younger ones, they are very protective of the little ones, and they will not doubt to protect them and be very fierce about it. So no, I would definitely, even if I managed to surprise them and come running from the back and touch them, likely they would either, in the best case scenario, they would just get spooked and run away from me, but very likely what would happen is that they would turn around and start chasing me. Now you can imagine when something that weighs about 3.5 tons is chasing you, is not the ideal thing, because they can easily squash you. So no, I wouldn't, and even if I could, I don't reckon I would try to go and touch them. Now we've got another younger bull here. He's walking with a typical bull swagger. Beautiful. Seems just like the elephants, the dogs have also gone on the move, so let's go over to Tristan and find out where the wild dogs are going to go.
Well, they are starting to run in the Mulawati now, which is super exciting. So we're going to have a situation where we're hopefully going to see them on the hunt. And now's the time that we need a Nyala to pop out somewhere, because if they see a Nyala, they're going to go running. Everybody kind of lurked around for a bit, but now they're all trotting. You can see they're in the tire tracks of the Mulawati, just figuring out what's going on. At the end of the day, I don't think this pack has spent much time in this area, so they'll be exploring, seeing a new place, seeing what's going on. So it's going to be interesting for them just to check out what's happening and just look around and suss out if there's any other dogs around, if there's any other threats that they need to worry about. And this is an area that they do need to be a bit careful, because there's been a number of leopards in this section, so they will need to be a little bit more on the careful side. The problem is where they're going is not friendly at all, so once they go into this thicket, we're going to have a tough time to follow them. That doesn't mean we're not going to try, of course, because we know we can't say no to following of animals through a thicket, and we prepped Rusty for this already today anyway, so this will just be a lot of fun, and hopefully we're going to see something really epic taking place. Now what I'm going to have to do is try and get up towards them and go out of where they are and just try and get round, because I know how they move. They're right where we had Tingana and Kuchava mating the other day, and so it's going to take a little bit of positioning and a bit of maneuvering to actually get into that position. So we're going to try and just get ourselves up there. There we go. So it's just going to take a little bit of maneuvering and agility to get through here. Now Senzo, you're going to be tasked with trying to spot them and watch them, because through this stuff I'm going to struggle to be able to see them, but they are exactly where I thought they would be. It's exactly where we had our mating leopards a few days ago. There we go. So you see impalas just there. So Senzo says he can see some impalas just on our left hand side, but we're going to try and just keep up with the dogs in case the dogs miss them, because where the dogs are now, if they run further west and we sit with the impalas, we're going to have no idea that they're moving off. So better to be with them and to stay with the dogs and chase with them than to be on a prey item that they might miss and move away from. So you can see they're all kind of spread out in front of me, and hopefully from here we'll see them moving around. But there's some francolins that are alarm calling, which could be maybe a dog has decided to chase something that way. They're all spread out here in front of me, so let's hope that this is where they're going to be. Now this is the front sort of section of the dogs. There's one of the adult males, then to the right is our collared male, and then there's even further to the right more dogs on that side. So I think everybody's just working out where they all are at the moment, and slowly but surely, here we go, they're going to chase. Now we're going to try and keep up with them. Whether or not we're going to be able to is anybody's guess, but here we go. It's going to be chaotic. Hold on, Senzo. So let's see what we can do. They're moving so fast already, they've left us behind, but here we go. So a bit of Ferrari safari on a Friday, it never hurts anybody. It's always a bit of fun, as Lou says, so we're going to try and keep up. Now Senzo says that they ran this way, so I want to try and see if I can get into that direction. Come on. Come on, Rusty, out of the sand. Here we go. Now which way they went is anybody's guess, because I feel like they must have run sort of down towards this section, but I'm not 100% sure. Can you still see them, Senzo? So here we go. We just try and get up the hill. Come on, Rusty, come on. There we go, Rusty, well done. It seems as though they might have missed though, because they've run in this section and they're on the road by the looks of things, judging from the reaction of other people. It seems as though they're just in the road here and just having a little look at what's going on. There we go. So they did miss the impalas, and now they're just sitting, regrouping, and you'll find the whole kind of pack will come together again, and everybody will just wait for one another to arrive. After a small chase like that, you have a situation where everybody's kind of got to regroup, and then they'll start trotting again after that. But the sun is at the perfect angle now. You can see beautiful golden light just above them. There's a bit of sneezing again. Now whether that's communicating or dust, who knows, but they did have a go at those impalas, that's for sure, and it must have been very close, because the whole pack is here. So there we go, there's more sneezing happening. Interesting, never noticed it before, but it seems to be accurate. Every time they move there is some sneezing that goes on along with it, and particularly when it becomes to actually trotting for hunting as opposed to just moving and relocating. They seem to only sneeze when they're going off on a hunting expedition, as opposed to just walking around and relocating and sitting somewhere else. Oh, can you hear that? In the distance there's a bird calling, and it's saying Piet me fro, which is the first cuckoo I've heard since the summer started. So there it is. So there was a cuckoo calling, which is awesome news. So that's a first of our migratory cuckoos that is arriving. Now I've got to just make space for a vehicle that's in front of me that was reversing before it hits into the front of the car. We don't want that, so we're just going to try and keep ourselves out of the way of all the vehicles that are here, and we're going to try and follow them. And what we'll do is just do a leapfrog effect basically with the vehicles as we go. But how beautiful is the light on these wild dogs? The light is absolutely fantastic. Just Trying to work out if I can just follow them parallel to the road, because otherwise we're going to sit behind a vehicle the whole time, and I would prefer not to. So if I can follow them like this, then I'm going to be a much happier individual. And look how beautiful this is with the light. The light is absolutely wonderful. It's orange sunset light, wild dogs all over the place. It really doesn't get any better than what we're seeing right now. And you can see everybody's kind of scattered. Typical wild dog hunting motions is where they kind of spread like this. They don't sit in one little small unit or pack together. They don't run in a single line when they're not on the road. They will spread out into a grouping like what you see here, and they'll then start to move around and almost flush animals as they go. So they're going to try and flush things like duiker and steenbok and all kinds of other animals that are in this general vicinity, and they're going to try and push them out and try and then chase after them. So there's going to be a lot of movement of them, and a very spread out situation as they go along. Now I seem to be collecting branches as I go here, so I've got a few monkey oranges that I just want to get rid of quickly. Thank you. We don't want you on our car. You can stay behind. As much as we like a good monkey orange to tag along, I would rather not have any monkey oranges with me. But before we go any further, Senzo, if you can just show that, I'm going to reverse back. The dogs are still ambling and trotting, but there is the most magnificent sunset from where we are at the moment. Look at that. Bit of cloud cover. Absolutely beautiful. So that's our backdrop, and our foreground is a whole bunch of wild dogs that are trotting through the bush. So it really doesn't get any better a way to finish a Friday and finish a week than sitting with what we have right now. So very cool. Right, now I'm going to try and keep up with these dogs. They are heading slowly but surely along Mamba Road, and they are heading sort of eastwards now towards Leadwood, Mamba, between Mamba and Leadwood. That's pretty much where they're heading at the moment in the block, and so hopefully we're going to have a situation where they're going to pop out on one of those roads. Now we are doing a school drive this afternoon, not just yet, as Ellie may have mentioned earlier. She might have just jumped the gun slightly, so I'm hoping that the dogs will just settle long enough that the kids can be introduced to one of Africa's most endangered predators, because for me that would just be the most wonderful way to kick off a school drive afternoon. I think it would be really very pleasant to see the wild dogs and to have this incredible racing safari for them. Not that we want to teach them to drive fast, but it just will be lots of fun, and they will probably thoroughly enjoy the action-packed afternoon that it would be if we follow wild dogs through this. Now, so Senzo says there's impalas in front, so we're going to have to get first gear ready, and soon we're going to be flying. So, sorry Lou, if you can just repeat that. The crunching of trees here means that I didn't hear very much as well. Also, I'm just far too excited and I'm talking too loud. So Nikki, you're asking if the success rate of wild dogs hunting is really the best of all the predators. Well, it's a bit of a misconception. So talking to Grant, it depends on how you measure a hunt rate, because if you measure single individual hunts, then the cats are actually far more successful than the dogs. The dogs only have about a 15% success rate on their hunts that they undertake, and that's because each individual dog will chase after an animal, and that then constitutes a hunt taking place. So you can see 13 dogs, they chase 13 impalas, they might only catch one out of the 13. But in terms of their hunting sort of sessions, if we want to call it that, because these guys go through what's called hunting sessions, and where they'll chase multiple different animals. Their success rate in a hunting session is incredibly good, but their success rate on individual hunts is not even as good as any of the cats. In fact, it's a bit of a misconception that the wild dogs kill 70% of the time. They don't. They only kill 15% of the actual animals that they chase, but in a hunting session they have a 70% sort of success rate of catching some food when they do go off like this and start hunting. So it just depends on how you look at it, but that's how basically it's determined and how it's been explained to me. And so it's really interesting, because it's a very big misconception that dogs are the best hunters out here in terms of success rates. They are incredibly efficient and they do generally find food, but it doesn't always mean that they are successful. Right, let's try and get through this horrible little section that we got here and facing. It's just going to get harder and harder to follow these dogs, unfortunately, because it's going to get really thick. So what I'm hoping is that for 5 minutes the dogs just take it easy, settle down a little bit, don't move too much, and we can be able to show the kids, and then after that they can start running, because where we're heading now, the chances of me being able to follow them is fairly remote. So hopefully they will just settle. I've got a few branches that are attached as well. This is really not the best place. The guys have been doing clearing of the monkey orange here to brush pack certain sections, and that's meant that it's really tough to drive over this stuff. It's a lot harder than it would have been had they not cut it, and so I'm battling a little bit to find clear pathways through where there's not little chopped off stumps and difficult areas. But so far so good. We're still managing to keep up with the dogs at this stage, which is wonderful news. Come on through, here we go. So I do Now, I believe a lot of you are also very excited that we heard a cuckoo. I know, isn't that cool? Wild dogs, cuckoo, it's all happening. I'm super excited. I love the fact that we're hearing cuckoos again. Cuckoos are one of my favorite sounds of the summer. I know that particular bird that we're calling the red-chested cuckoo that sings the Piet May Fro situation, that particular one can get a bit monotonous after time, but when you haven't heard it for so long, for me it just sounds like summer and happiness, and that's why I really enjoy hearing it and having that sort of call resonating through the drainage line that is the Mulawati. So there we go. Alright everybody, just stop for 2 seconds and let us just calm down to a panic, and then we can get this school drive started just now and still have you guys with us, because no, don't run now. Behave yourselves, all of you. They're not listening to me. It's a pack of unruly dogs that are just on their own mission altogether. So I'm going to try and keep up with them. It's obviously going to be tough, but we shall certainly give it our best shot. Senzo, be careful. I don't want to decapitate you. At the end of the day, we, like I say, like our cameramen here on Safari Live, and most certainly want to keep them alive at any cost possible. Also, it's a lot of mess to clean up if we lose ahead of the cameraman, so let's try and avoid that as much as possible. Now I'm going to try and keep up with them so that we can start the school drive with the wild dogs. While I do that, let's go back to Ellie and see what she's up to and whether or not she's got any plans for the rest of the afternoon.
Well, our plans keep shifting, so we're not too sure. We are still on the lookout for another leopard because we're just being greedy now because we want more. And we want to be able to find out who it is that was fighting around here. Hello, how are you doing? Good, thanks. Did he carry on going south? Yeah. Mvula. It's not in Mvula.
There's 3 in there. One of them is Mvula.
Is it? Yeah, do you know which female is in there?
Nobody said, and I haven't been there. So.
Alright, okay. Cool. Well, thanks anyway. Okay. Because the one that we saw crossing was Djuma. So, yeah. Okay. Alright, cool. Thanks. Now that is very strange, so it's always good to talk to some of the other guides. So apparently they are saying that there are 3 leopards there, so I think actually Djuma was hot in the tracks as we saw. He was definitely following the scent of a particular leopard, so he carried on going in that direction because apparently according to the guys there's a female there. They suggest that it could be the Ingrid Dam female, and apparently Mvula is also in there, so I think maybe Djuma was confused for Tingana. I'm not sure anymore. We at least we've got the idea of one particular one, which is a good thing, and then we're able to tell, and I'm sure after a drive this afternoon maybe we'll be able to find out or get an idea, or perhaps even some photographs of the ones that are in there. But it's very interesting because the leopard world is ever changing, and so are their dynamics and territories, and just as soon as you think that everything's quite settled and sorted and pretty much calm, then something will shift and everything will stop being as it's been, and it's just going to morph into something else, which is perhaps why lions and leopards are some of the most interesting creatures to watch, because their dynamics are always changing and their territories are always, of course they maintain a certain territory, but it's not a set area as in like from here to here. They, you know, they shift a little bit, and sometimes it'll be a little bit more from here, and then a little bit more from here, and a little bit more from here, and then somebody else, when this one goes here, is going to push in here. So it's constantly changing, and I find it, to be honest, just fascinating. But now that they've carried on that way, I am hoping that they're going to start coming back all the way in here, because it's going to be very interesting in the next few days to find out. And who knows, maybe what actually happened was that Jungana's not even aware of all of these leopards on his territory. So interesting. Alright, I'm going to send you guys back across to Tristan for the start of our very own school drive that I thought it was at the beginning of the drive, but it is now. So let's go to Tristan and how... I can't speak. Let's find out how the wild dogs are doing.
Well, welcome to Mojave Elementary and to a chaos start to our afternoon. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Senzo, and we're trying to follow one of the rarest predators we have out here, and that is wild dogs. They're running around all over the show, and I'm trying to keep up with them through the thickets. Now I can see one of them just in front, so we're going to try and get there as quick as possible. Now remember, this is interactive, so you can ask lots of questions. Just send your questions through to your teacher, and she will give them to us, and we will try and answer as many as we can. Now the last wild dog I saw was over there, so I'm just trying to get round towards where they are, but it's very thick and very difficult, and we're trying to crunch through some of these trees to get there, but it's not easy at all. So hopefully I'll be able to show you a wild dog. There we go, there the dogs are, they're right in front of us, and like I say, this is one of Africa's most rare, difficult to see animals. We're so lucky that we get to see these wild dogs. They are the most incredible animals, and what they're doing is they're hunting. So they're now out, the sun is just set, the dogs are on a full-on approach to try and find animals to hunt. So they're looking for lots of antelope like deer, which they can chase, and there's 13 wild dogs in total in this group, so they're all split up and they're all around us. Here comes the rest of them. They're going to run past the car now, so they're just coming from our left hand side, and they're going to come past and try and chase things. Lisa, wild dogs do live in packs, much like wolves, and you want to know how many are in a pack. It depends, Lisa. We can have lots of different numbers, anywhere from 3 wild dogs all the way up to over 40 can be together in a pack. This pack that we're following right now is 13 wild dogs, so there's 13 in total, and they're all over. So even though we can only see a few of them, there are 13, and it looks like they're going to join together in front here. There's all of them are kind of in one place, and so I'm hoping that all these dogs will come together and we'll be able to see all 13. They were sleeping for most of the afternoon, and now all of a sudden they've woken up and it's time to start hunting. But before we carry on with the dogs, while they're a little bit stationary, I want to show you something very incredible that is right here. Now it's moving away a little bit, so let's see if I can move with it. Now let's see if it'll go onto my dashboard, because the dogs are going to play. But if you have a look there, this is what's called a stick insect. So this is an insect that looks just like a stick. Look at how well camouflaged it is. Do you see that it looks just like a branch? So this has obviously fallen in the car, unfortunately, while we were following the wild dogs. Now it's fallen down here, and I want to try and just get it out of the car so we don't damage it. But there we go. Excuse my dirty hands. It's from my steering wheel. Its steering wheel's a little bit dirty, but there we go. Look at the insect. It looks just like a stick. There's its antenna and its front legs, and it's looking around. Now I'm going to keep the stick insect on my hand, and I'll talk about it when the dogs stop, but the dogs are moving, so I want to just try and keep up with them. It's all happening at once. I don't know what to talk about. This is the exciting thing about safari, is that you don't know what's around any corner, and you can have from small little insects like this all the way to the big wild dogs that are chasing after all kinds of different things. So it's all about chaos and surprise this afternoon, which is really very cool. Ali, these bugs don't bite people. Stick insects are very placid with people. They're just trying to camouflage and hide themselves and stay away and try not to get hurt, and so that's why they rely on camouflage, because they don't have any venom or a very serious bite that hurts us, so they can just hide away in plain sight. Now our stick insect actually flew off. They do have wings and they can fly, so it flew off my hand while we started driving, unfortunately, so I can't show you any more, but at least we've caught up with the wild dogs. Now they're all spread out in front of me, and they're they're all kind of just sitting and listening. And you see, look at how big their ears are. Their ears remind me of Mickey Mouse, and they've got big ears that they can listen to what's going on and hear any antelopes that are moving around them. So that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to use these big ears to hear and to try and figure out where animals are that they can then chase after. So it's all a bit chaotic with the wild dogs, and that's why they run in different directions. Then they stop and they listen, and then they run and they stop and they listen. So it's going to be a bit of that this afternoon, and eventually, hopefully, they'll come across some sort of antelope that they can then chase and hunt from there. So really, really exciting, and it's the best time of the day to be with the wild dogs because we get super lucky because they're very active. Like I said, the afternoon they were sleeping and they weren't really doing very much, but now they're looking for food, and you can see that they're quite skinny. Wild dogs are much skinnier than a lot of the other animals, and they have to be because these guys are like marathon runners. So they're not like the big powerful sprinters like the lions and the leopards and the cheetah. These guys are built to run for long periods of time, and so they're slender and thin, not too heavy, so that they can carry their weight around for a long time, and they will hunt for hours trying to look for food, and they chase their food for long periods of time as well. So it really is pretty amazing to watch them, and it's one of the most exciting animals in the bush to follow around. Even though it's not a big cat, and the big cats have a lot more sort of fame, they still are amazing. Faith, the reason we can get close to the dogs without them running away is because the wild dogs are habituated. Now, habituated is a word that we use when an animal becomes used to you. So, you know, like your dog, if you call your dog, it comes to you. It's the same thing with the wild dogs. They know the noise of the car is not dangerous, and they can stay quite close to it because the car is not going to hurt them and it's not going to steal food from them, and that's why they don't mind too much. But they're busy crossing over now, over Leadwood Road. Oh, hello dog, sorry. Now, I am going to have to probably let some of the other guys know, because there are guys that are trying to find us, so I might have to go onto the radio just now. Yolanda, you're wondering how fast they can run. Well, at the moment we're just trotting, and so this is a little kind of hunting pace that we're running at, and this will be very gentle. This will be probably, I would say, about... maybe we're running at about 5 miles an hour, not even. But when they are running at full speed, they'll be running at about 35 to 40 miles an hour. That's how quickly they'll be going. So they're all moving around. There's one that's chasing. Look, they're chasing now. See how quickly they're starting to run? So we're going to try and keep up with them as they go after whatever they're chasing. I can't see what they're chasing after. I'm trying to keep up with them, but they definitely have spotted something. There's Impala. You see the Impala in front? It's running. So we're going to try and keep up. Let's see. Now there's a big stump here. Hold on, Senzo. But they're still chasing, so hopefully they're going to catch up with that Impala. But the Impala came running from the left-hand side, and they're going straight towards these other dogs that were this side. And I wonder if maybe they're going to have caught this Impala. So I'm trying to just get around some tree stumps. Here they come. Look, you can see them running in front of me as they go. It's all very fast, so we're trying to keep up with them and trying to really stick with them, but they're leaving us behind because the bush is so bumpy and bouncy. I'm trying to sort of stay with them, but they obviously are chasing animals too fast for me to keep up. But where did they go? I saw one dog running this way. There they are. They're still running. Look, you see they're still chasing? So they've gone towards the main road, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with them. You can see how quickly they leave us behind. So I'm going to try and get round onto a road and try and use the road to be able to find them, but I think we might have lost them now. They've gone too fast, too quickly for us. But this is why I said that wild dogs are super exciting. You can see how fast these dogs ran and how quickly they left us. Absolutely amazing speed. Sorry, Franklin, out the road. Beep beep, come on, out the road. So there's a little francolin, which is a type of bird that sits on the road most of the time, and they sit there and they kind of just mind their own business. Now here's some zebras also in front. I don't think the wild dogs will chase zebras. Or is there a wild dog right there? There is a wild dog right there. So the wild dogs are with the zebras. How cool is this? Now they won't hunt a zebra. Zebras are a little bit big for them, but they might just give the zebras a hard time. Maybe, just maybe, there might be a baby zebra that they might chase. But how cool is this? Two of Africa's most beautiful animals together. Now you see, look at the zebras chasing the wild dogs. You see how this is going? So the zebras are big and strong. They know that they can chase the wild dogs around, so they're now chasing after the dogs. You see that zebra is walking towards them? This is absolute chaos that is happening. How cool is this? Look, there comes the zebra trotting, so it's using a bit of its bulk and its size to chase the wild dog. It's all happening, and they're trying to protect the smaller zebra within the group. Not that there's many small zebras here. There's no baby zebras except for that slightly smaller one on the right-hand side. And so they're trying to protect them as much as possible and trying to be able to look after them. Now, unfortunately, I lost my comms. Lou, my comms are back in, so I can hear if you're going to ask questions. I do apologize if I missed anything. I was racing around so much that my earpiece fell out, and I didn't even notice. But how cool is this? This is just so exciting. And like I say, this is the best thing about safari, is that you never know what's going on. You never know what's happening. Any moment, anything can happen. And the wild dogs are the best animals to follow because they chase things all over the show, and you get lots of stuff like this. Look at the dust and the zebras chasing them. There we go. Look. Wild dogs have got to be very careful with zebras because zebras can kick very hard and the dogs can get hurt badly. But I really do need to radio the other guys and let them know what's happening, because they are crossing into another property and there's other guides that haven't seen these wild dogs, so I have to tell them. Stations, the dogs have crossed onto Gari Main. They're between the Mulwanini and Chitwa Old Driveway, static, chasing Mangwa, if anyone's interested. So there we go, we've just let them know, and that means that the rest of the guys can hopefully come and find them this side. But it is an amazing sighting of the zebras and the wild dogs. Look at that big zebra behind, and then the dogs just catching their breath. So they're a little bit tired. They've been running around now, and look how the zebras are following them. So you've got wild dogs in front, zebras behind, and it's all just chaotic at the moment. Whew. It's time to just calm down to a bit of a panic again. Whew, I'm getting all flustered from being so excited after seeing all of this. So absolutely unbelievable to watch. This is as epic as it ever will be. You're being absolutely spoiled today, seeing one of Africa's most endangered predators interact with one of its prey items. It is so special. We really are getting really treated to an amazing sighting. There go the zebras again. Look, they're going to chase these dogs down the road a little bit further. So there we go. Nitrice, the dogs will eat all kinds of different animals, so they like mammals, and they will eat impalas, which is like a deer, steenboks, scrub hares, which is like a rabbit, so lots of different types of animals. But let's watch the zebras and the wild dogs, because that's what we want to see. We don't want to see my ugly mug, so let's rather watch them as they get chased down the road together. I'm going to try and get a little closer and then stop. So John, if the wild dogs get too close to the zebras, then yes, the zebras can hurt the wild dogs. A kick from a zebra is very dangerous and can really hurt. So if they're not careful, they're going to get a kick to the face and they're going to get really sore. So it is dangerous for a wild dog to go anywhere near a zebra. Here comes another wild dog coming down from Chitwa Dam, and so they're going now continuing along, and you can see the zebras are not happy about another dog behind them, and they're chasing that wild dog away, and so the wild dogs are going to have to all regroup on the other side. So we're going to try and just keep up with them as much as possible. But how crazy is this sighting? Wow, we're being so spoiled. Sorry, zebras, I don't want to make you upset. Now we've got a zebra roadblock. They're going to watch us and make sure there's no more wild dogs with us on this side. Yeah, you can see the dogs just through the gap there in between all of the zebra. Sylvia, a group of zebra is known as either a herd or a dazzle of zebra. And a dazzle is because, look, when all the zebras are together and they're in a tight ball, they look very difficult to see one from another, and the stripes all melt into each other, and so it's called a dazzle of zebras when they're all together, because it dazzles your eyes. So that's why they get that name. Now the zebras are going off onto the left hand side, so we're going to try and keep up with our dogs, which are still in. They are the ones that are causing lots and lots of crazy entertainment, so we're going to try and keep up with them. And the zebras, I think, have decided we've chased the wild dogs enough, we've moved them away, so we can now go off onto the left and carry on our feeding, and the dogs can carry on their hunting. Right, but where we are going to go now is that into a dip and a drainage and a riverbed. few difficult patches of signal. So before I lose signal, let's go back to Ellie, who wants to say hello and to see what she can find in the dark.
Hello everyone, my name is Ellie and on camera with me is VM, and it sounds like you guys have had the best possible welcome. Seems like Tristan's been keeping everyone quite busy with the wild ducks, which is a very rare sighting, and the fact that you guys have had them following and chasing zebras up and down the road, that must have been very exciting. Now, we are in the search for other things. We are actually trying to find more leopards. So we'll see if maybe we can find any. There are a few areas that we want to go and try. Perhaps they'll be there, because we're lucky enough to see one earlier today, but we are hoping that we're going to be able to show you guys one. Now, a leopard is a very pretty creature, but they're also very hard to find because they live by themselves and they are a little bit small, so sometimes in the grass around this area is not that easy to find them. So I am hoping that in the next little while we'll be able to see at least one of them. That'll be quite nice. So fingers crossed we'll find those ones, or anything else in between, or perhaps anything else during the night. There are a few species of birds that move around during the night, and then we've got obviously a lot of owls, and if we get really lucky and we manage to spot something, maybe we'll see a chameleon or a porcupine. Those are very beautiful creatures that come out, and now that the sun is going down and we're finally going into the night time, I'm sure they're going to start moving around. So that'll give us a little bit more of a chance of seeing them, because they spend the day in their houses all tucked in and then not moving around, and they go out and they start eating during the night. So fingers crossed we'll be able to see them, or at least one of them. That would be very nice. I haven't seen a porcupine in ages. It's been a very long time. And they are such pretty creatures, and they're very big, perhaps about this big, and with their quills sometimes being as long as this. So I am hoping we're going to be able to show you guys some of those beautiful creatures that come out during the night. So I'm obviously still here and I don't have any scars, but sometimes when you go out looking for the animals, because we don't always look for them on the car, sometimes you need to have a certain qualification and experience. We go looking for them on foot, and it's happened a few times that by accident I get too close to the lions, because either I don't see them or they see me first coming from the distance, and then they look at you and they start growling and go like "Brr," and they start moving their tails and looking very angry like a house cat. So luckily it's always been a false attack, so they've never come too close to hurt me, which I'm very grateful for, because lions are very big and I don't want to find myself in the jaws of a lion. Those are some very powerful jaws that those pretty lions have. Lady, you're wondering if leopards are all the same. They all come in the same color, or if they have different colors? Well, so most of them are orangey on top, and then their bellies are white and the bottom of their tail is white, and they all have these beautiful spots that are actually called rosettes, because they're almost like the shape of a rose. So it'll be 1, 2, and 3 made like this, and then one little one in the middle most times, or sometimes actually, and then they all have these beautiful spots in between their coats. So some of them might be a little bit darker, some of them might be a little bit lighter in color, but they're roughly the same. When you see a leopard, then you will know by its coat that that's definitely a leopard. It would be quite interesting though if we could get pink leopards. But if you're wondering, because of all the different prints that we see, that we get blue leopard print and pink leopard print and white leopard print, and those ones unfortunately they don't come out naturally out here in the bush. Over here it's just pretty much the one that's of that orange color. That's the real color of the leopards around here. Seems like everyone's gone to bed already. So I am hoping the creatures that move around during the night are going to be somewhere around here, because normally at this time of the day when the light starts going down and you start squinting because you can't really see all that well, a lot of the times that's when those beautiful cats start moving around, both lions and leopards. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll find one, or we'll be able to find one for you guys. There are also smaller cats that we get in this area, also wild cats, but they are more the size of a domestic cat. So we've got one pretty one that looks like a miniature leopard, that's called a serval, and then we've got one that is also a miniature cat, but it's called a caracal, and it looks very similar to a lynx. If you've ever seen a lynx, it's the one that's got those funny hairs growing like this from the tip of their ears. And I have never seen either one of those out here, but some of my other friends have, so I'm always hoping that one day I'm going to find them. One day when you least expect them. Now I can hear a lot of insects around. It's definitely signaling that we are getting closer to our summertime and that winter has finally, or has started definitely abandoning us, because we've had some rain, which we don't get all throughout the year. And then of course now everything in the next few weeks should start becoming a lot more, well, there should start a lot, I can't even speak, we should be getting more flowers and leaves. That part of our plan this afternoon has been to head back onto one of the water holes, because there was another young leopard that was seen this morning, still far away from that water hole, but we are hoping that now during the nighttime he's going to come back to that water hole for a drink. So we're actually making our way straight there, hoping that he will come around, because that would be super brownie points if we manage to see him. We are still a little bit far away, but we are on our way, and hopefully, I just got attacked by a fly. And hopefully we'll be able to find him. Now nobody's seen him yet, so we are going to start looking for him, which is half of the fun out here in the bush. It's as much fun looking for things as it is finding them. Faith, you're wondering how we do this job safely. Well, it's not anyone can do this job, in the sense that you can't just decide one day, well, I'm gonna go grab a car and go on safari and take people out on safari. You've actually got to go do a course. It's almost like a school, a guiding school, that then people will teach you how to know what the animals are doing, what they do, if they're upset, if they're happy, how to follow them, how to find out which tracks are for which animal when they step on the ground. So you've actually got to do quite an extensive amount of studying to then be able to guide. And then it's a little bit trickier, because obviously they to teach you how to be a guide, they teach you how to do it safely, always bearing in mind that you have to be careful not only with the people that you're taking, but of course with the animals that you're looking at, because safety goes both ways, for the humans and for the animals. So it takes quite a while to get all your qualifications and all your diplomas and everything else. But once you do it, or for every exam, you do 2 exams for every level that you do. So you'll do 1 level, you will have, or for every level I should say, you will have a written exam, and you will write everything, all the theory, all the questions that they ask you about, maybe how many teeth does an elephant have, or how does the digestion of this animal works. And then you have to do a practical exam where you take one of the teachers on the drive with you, and you pretend that that teacher is a guest that's coming out on safari, and then you've got to act like that person, that you're showing them everything around the bush and how do you react to the animals and everything else. So that's part of the trick, just a lot of experience, and then being taught by people that know what they're doing, to then be able to do everything as safely as possible, but also as enjoyable as possible. Thought there was something in the distance, but I got it wrong. Should probably turn my lights on. Alandra, you're wondering if we've got snakes around here. Well, yes, we do. We haven't seen too many of them because it's been very cold. So when it's cold, the reptiles don't move around as much as they normally do. But now that it's starting to warm up quite a bit, then we're going to start seeing them a lot. But having said that, we don't see them every day because they live in the grass or sometimes in the trees. So because they are very flat and we go on top of a car, often we don't see them. We know that they're there somewhere, but we don't see them every day. We have, however, some ones that are not venomous. Some of them are just very pretty snakes to look at, and some of them are very, very, very venomous. So you've got to be aware of which ones are which, just so that nothing bad really happens. But normally, snakes are just afraid of humans, as some humans can be afraid of them. So even if they hear you walking in the bush, a lot of the times they'll just try to get away from you as quickly as possible. So I actually wonder when it's going to be the first snake that we're going to see. I'm hoping we're going to see a very big rock python, because we get those ones here and they're such pretty snakes, and they can get so long, maybe 4 or 5 meters long. Maybe that's about, I don't even know how to say it in foot, but over 6 foot. Was that correct? Very long snakes. And they are beautiful. They have very beautiful colors. Now I just want to pay attention to the road here, so I think there are some holes coming ahead, and I just want to make sure that I don't drive the wrong way and then kick VM off the back of the car, because if I lose VM, then I'm not going to be very popular. Alright. Something's funny's going on with my lights. Alex, you're wondering what my favorite animal is. Well, my ultimate favorite animals are rhinos. White rhinos. We get them in South Africa, but unfortunately they are disappearing. Their numbers are going down a lot because of poaching, and poaching is the illegal hunting of rhinos. So people come into national parks or game reserves and then they kill them just to try and whack off the horn that they use, that they've got in the top of their nose, that they use mainly for self-defense. But I love them because they are such funny things, and after the elephants they are the second biggest animal that we get here, and they're just such big tanks and they move like this and they're just funny. And the little ones are my favorite because they're all tiny and wrinkly, but it's almost like a tiny little car. They are hilarious. They are very funny and very pretty. And then after the rhinos, I of course really like the cats, so the lions and the leopards, because they're so interesting to watch because they're always doing something, they're always up to something. And then of course the wild dogs that we saw today, those are some of my favorites because they're so rare to see, and we've just been so lucky today to be able to see them. So that's always good when they are around. Now, we might be heading into potentially where this leopard could be area. So I'm going to keep my eyes quite open, and I'm going to grab my spotlight without crashing into a tree to try and maybe decipher if there's a leopard. Woo! Didn't see that one. If there's a leopard anywhere around here. So if we do come across any of the animals that move around during the day, like the antelope, which are very similar to the deer, then we're not going to shine the light at them. But other animals like the leopards and the lions, we can shine this spotlight at them. And the reason for it, imagine if you have a torch that goes straight into your eyes, you can't really see and you get a little bit dizzy and then you start seeing funny colors. So that's why we don't do it to them. Now, what is going on? Oh, there are some impala running. Luckily, they're not running away from wild dogs anymore. You guys got lucky. I think some of them did approach the wild dogs during the day, but lucky for them, the wild dogs were still a little bit sleepy after running around so much this morning. Seems like the wild dogs have just headed off. And I wonder if perhaps the leopard didn't see those wild dogs running around and jumped on a tree and he was like, no thank you, I'm just gonna let everyone carry on and do their own thing. Well, he just silently waits. Now, because it's been very hot, I am hoping that it's going to be somewhere around the Waterhole. Seems like my friend Tristan has managed to go into a much bigger waterhole, so let's go over to him and just see one of the biggest waterholes that we get in this area.
Well, it is the biggest waterhole in this particular game reserve, not in the big Kruger National Park, but here in the Sabi Sands it is the largest one, and it's filled with some of my favorite creatures, and that is the hippopotamus. So there you can see some of the hippos with their heads just sticking above the water. It's now that time of the day that the hippos are waking up. They've spent their day sitting in the water, staying away from the sun, because just like us, they are very easily sunburnt, and so they need to stay in water, protect themselves, keep their skin all nice and hydrated. So when we say hydrated, that means that they got to keep their skin with a high water content so that it doesn't dry out too much. So the hippos are agreeing with me that they are also saying, look at that yawn, did you see how big his mouth was? Opened his mouth really wide, and that's because it's time to start waking up. But I was saying their skin gets very dry, and then they can die if they don't stay in water for long enough. So they stay in the water during the day when it's very hot and the sun is out, but now that the sun is set, it's now time for the hippos to wake up and to start moving and coming out and looking for food. Lainey, you're asking if other animals will follow elephants to get to a big watering hole like this. Well, maybe a little bit, but the animals out here, all of them, are very clever, and they have very good senses. So they can smell very well, they can hear very well, and they can even see very well. And so a lot of the animals, even if they don't follow the elephants, they can still smell the water close by and they'll move then to the water to come and drink. Also, a lot of these animals that are in this area, their mothers would have taught them to come and drink. So their mothers would have been here for a while and their mothers would have taught them, and they would have then told their young ones where to go and show them where water is, and then they remember and they'll follow those areas. So sometimes, yes, there might be elephants around and they might follow the elephants, but most of the time they can find the water without the elephants and find lots to drink at a dam like this. What they will do with elephants, where elephants help everybody, is when it's in our dry season like now and these kind of water holes are not around, there's no water like this, the elephants will actually dig for water. So they will go into a river bed, and if the river is dry, then they use their feet to dig and the water comes out from underneath the soil, and then the other animals will follow the elephants there to go and drink that water. So that's the only time they really follow the elephants for water, but it's only because the elephants are the only ones that can dig deep enough to get to that water. Now our hippos, as I was saying just now, are going to start waking up, and hopefully we're going to see them starting to maybe come out of the water. This time of the day, the hippos decide that it's time to move, and they'll like to kind of come out and start to go and graze, because remember, hippos are animals that eat grass. They don't eat fish and they don't eat meat, so they come out and they feed off the grass. And so what they've got to do is they've got to move from the water itself, and you can see one that's starting to come out. If you go to your left for me, Senzo, just a little bit more to this, towards the dead tree, you'll see one's back moving. So that one is moving slowly but surely. Two of them are moving towards the edge of the water, and maybe we'll get lucky and see those hippos coming out of the water and going to start grazing for the evening. And a hippo has to eat a lot of grass, so it will spend all night out and feed until the early hours of the morning. Lainey, a hippo will hold its breath for between 5 and 7 minutes. You can see those hippos are going under and coming up every now and then. Now they won't hold their breath always for 5 to 7 minutes. It's the longest that they can hold. Generally we see our hippos going under for just a little bit and then popping back up again, and you can see their backs coming out of the water as well. And that hippo is going closer and closer towards the land, and hopefully it is going to walk out at some point. Now there is also crocodiles in here, but the crocodiles will be in the water now. It's time for them to hunt fish and various other things. They would have spent the whole day out in the sun to warm up after a few cold days. Oh, there's a big yawn, look at that. Michelle, you're asking how big is a hippo? Well, a fully grown male hippo is going to weigh probably close to about 5,500 pounds. So they are very, very big. They are very dangerous animals, and they're ones that you have to be careful of. There's Senzo, I think there's one coming out of the water to the left here. I can see a shape on the edge of the dam that looks like it's coming out. So there are a few lights around from other vehicles there on the edge of the dam. Is that not a hippo? I thought I heard a hippo coming. Maybe just a little bit to your left, Senzo. There, what's that? Is that a bush? That's a bush there. So I thought I saw a hippo coming out somewhere in that general area. I did see here one scent marking. Luna, yes, it is true that hippos are born underwater. You will find hippos give birth in the water and not on land. Can you hear them all talking to each other? So that's them all talking to each other, telling each other what they're going to do, where they're going, and what the plan is for the night. And they make lots of noise. Right, now I'm going to sit with my big hippopotamus and see what they get up to and if they come out the water. But Ellie has found another really, really big animal that is also at a waterhole.
As he's spraying it around. So if you're wondering why our screen is black and white, it's because we've put an infrared camera on, and we actually cannot see pretty much anything with our naked eye, but the camera is able to pick up everything, which allows us to see these animals during the night. Isn't that amazing? Whoop, there's a little bit of splashing around from this elephant. Now, when we see elephants, if they are by themselves, then that is more likely than not a boy, because the boys like to be by themselves, especially as they get older. And then the females say, hey, don't you spray any of that water this side, mister. It's too cold for me. See, always playing this elephant. And if we see lots of elephants all together, then normally that's the family of the females and their daughters and little ones and so on. Now it seems like we have managed to find ourselves a cheeky elephant that wants to make us wet, and sometimes they do that. Sometimes they'll be a little bit playful and try their luck and see what happens, but I'm not really keen to go down there and play with an elephant and get wet. The temperature is still a little bit cold for my liking. Hello, beautiful eye. And they come and they drink every day, and normally in one go or in one day they can drink up to 100 liters of water. That is a lot, and that's just one elephant. Whoop, there we go. Puts the trunk in its mouth. Although I think you're playing more than what you're actually drinking, because often if they're very thirsty, you'll see that they'll put their trunk in their mouth and then they raise their heads a little bit just to make sure that everything goes down their throat and carry on drinking. I think this boy, maybe he's been a little bit hot today and he's been playing around more than anything else now. You see there's poof, a lot of water. Could also be that he's not too happy with the taste of the water. Nate, you're wondering if a hippo would try to attack an elephant. Well, they can. Some hippos get very very grumpy when there's when the water level is not too high. So when it gets very dry and it hasn't rained for a while and the water pools are becoming shallower and shallower, the hippos get angry and they don't really like any other animals coming and sharing their water. So sometimes you can see elephants and hippos and rhinos just chasing each other around a water hole. Now, every now and again they will fight and they can kill each other because they become very aggressive. But often they will just leave each other or just do a little bit of a display, as in like, you know, I'm the toughest, biggest animal in this water hole, and then the other one will be like, oh fine, and goes away. But it can happen. However, I think a very big elephant would probably win against a hippo. Lainey, you're wondering how long does an elephant live? Well, in this area we're lucky because we get them for a very long time. They normally live until they're about 60-65 years of age on average, whereas in other areas like the desert, because the conditions are much harsher over there, they live for about maybe 40 to 45 years of age. But in this particular area, about 60-65 years old. It's normally a good number for elephants. And I think this one that we're looking at, I would say he's probably around 20 years old or so, so he's still got quite a long time ahead of it, which is wonderful. We love seeing elephants all around this area. You can see his trunk is definitely wet. Even their skin is absorbing a little bit, and poof, the trunk goes all the way down. Kalik, you're wondering how the elephants drink water. Well, let's have a look at what this guy is doing. Okay, now he's playing with the water, of course. So they use their trunk and they suck up all the water through their trunk, and they've got a little muscle that prevents the water from going up all the way from the trunk all the way into the lungs so that they don't choke. So they pretty much, it's almost like drinking through a straw, I would say. They suck up the water through their trunk, and then once they filled up their trunk, then they put their trunk in their mouth and they tilt their head back and they just let all the liquid back out from their trunk into their mouth, and that's how they drink. It's quite a long process, and it takes them a little while. There we go. You see it's putting its trunk there. It takes them a while to learn how to do this because it's not that easy to learn how to move that trunk, because if you can imagine, it's just a whole new thing that's there. And sometimes in the little ones it's quite funny because they don't know how to use it yet. So when they come down to a water hole, rather than drinking like this one is doing, you will see that they'll go almost like a dog on their knees and then their mouth straight into the water to drink directly from the water hole because they haven't learned how to do it yet. It is very funny when they do that. You are making yourself very wet. Elephants normally love the water, and if they manage to find a water hole that's very deep, always you will see them in there playing and tossing and turning and going inside. It's wonderful. They really do like the water. Now that sound is a goose, an Egyptian goose that's calling from the other side. Not too sure why it's upset. Might try to have a look with the... Let's have a look with the torch, see if there's anything here. No, don't think there's anything. I think these two are just making that noise because they're upset with the elephant and they don't want the elephant to be drinking their water. They're very greedy. They want all this pun for themselves. think Aurelie's almost done drinking. Look at that tail. The only place where an elephant has hair is the tip of the tail, as you can see there. And the other hair that they've got is in their ears to protect their ears from dust and little things coming in. And then, of course, very beautiful long eyelashes. Seems like our elephant friend is done for the night over here. So let's go over to Tristan and find out if the hippos have also gotten outside of the water.
Well, they haven't gotten out of the water just yet. They're still shouting at each other and playing around and splashing. So we're just sitting really enjoying the beauty of the evenings here in the bush. And it's the best time just to sit still. And sometimes we chase after animals and we drive all over the place. But it is sometimes a really good lesson in just sitting and listening and taking in the environment around you and appreciating how lucky we are to see the stars and to listen to the hippos and just to be out here in the bush. It really is a wonderful thing to experience, and to be outside and to smell nature and be around nature is really great. So there are hippos kind of dotted around me. I've been checking around for any other signs of things. There hasn't been too much. Now it is quite dark. You can see that we are going to go into infrared mode, which is when we will get black and white color, and that allows us to see much better at night. Our camera has a special light that doesn't hurt the eyes of the animals, and it means that we can shine on them and still have a look at them. True, you're asking if hippos will ever attack people. Yes, they will. Hippos are very dangerous to people. You have to be very careful with hippos, not when they're in water like this. If I go towards water like this with my car, you can see the hippos are not too worried about it at all. They just kind of look at us and then they go up and down in the water. They're not very worried. But if you get between them and water, they can be extremely dangerous, and they have killed a lot of people, unfortunately. In fact, these guys kill more people than lions and leopards and buffalo and elephants and all of those other animals. So hippos can be very dangerous, and you have to be very careful with hippos and make sure that you don't get too close to water or between hippos, and don't walk around at night in the African bush out near water, because otherwise you're asking for a big problem. Tony, you're asking if hippos are nocturnal. Well, yes, they're more active at night than they are during the day. So during the day, we'll have a situation that the hippos are awake and they're moving around in the water and they're snorting and they're carrying on and they're kind of making a lot of noise. But when nighttime comes, that's when they're actually going to move quite a bit. So what they go to do is they come out of the water and then they go and they feed off all the grass that is around this area, because hippos are grass eaters and they have a very bad digestive system. So that means that they can't get a lot of food. A lot of the food that they eat doesn't actually get absorbed or get used by the body. It just comes out as dung on the other side, and so they have to feed a lot. And so a hippo will eat close to 400 pounds of grass in a single night. So in 12 hours, 400 pounds of grass. Now you know how heavy 400 pounds is. It means that the hippos have to feed a lot, and so yes, they are far more active at night, and that means that they kind of can move around. Also, because of their skin, they don't have hair like us. We've only got a little bit of hair, and that means we get burnt by the sun. It means at night they can move around and they're not going to dehydrate, and their skin is not going to get damaged by the sun's rays, and they are able to then feed for a much longer period of time. Now unfortunately, it is that time of the evening where we are going to start going back home, and we're going to go and try and get a little bit of a rest. And so for our regular viewers, we will not be out tomorrow morning. Please remember that we are not going to be out at Djuma tomorrow morning. It is our last of our TV shows from the Masai Mara, so I hope that you will all join in and tune in if you are in the United States and enjoy that last broadcast. It promises to be a very special one. I see the guys are already out and they've got some amazing things ready to show all of you tomorrow morning, so I do hope that you'll tune in. And for the rest of you that are not in the United States, we will be back tomorrow afternoon at our normal time, myself and Ellie. But talking about Ellie, she sends her best regards, and to the kids, I hope you've enjoyed your afternoon, and we'll see you all soon on tomorrow's Sunset Safari.